This is part 2 of Live Life Without Regrets. Today I'm sharing with you my first solo trip in the United States. Stay tuned.
Living my life like it's golden. 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 Golden. Living my life like it's golden.
Greetings, welcome to Success with Etiquette. I'm Sean, and I create videos to help you walk with confidence, explore new places, and live life without regrets. If you're new here, consider subscribing. This is part 2 of Live Life Without Regrets, my first solo travel trip in the United States. You can watch Live Life Without Regrets, the link above, after you watch this video. My first solo trip was to, let me back up and first say how it was manifested at 11 years old. When I was 11, I had my own record player and my own albums and 45, and my favorite song was by Odyssey, Native New York, running pretty New York City girl, 25, 35, hello baby, New York City girl. That was my favorite song. And I had this image of New York City being just the mecca of life and the epicenter. It was just everything based on my imagination and the things I've heard about New York City. And my cousin lived in New York City, and he was, he was a hustler. And big city, big dreams, all those people, the Big Apple. And when I used to listen to this song every single day, and I said, when I grow up, I'm going to New York. That's how I know I made it in life, is when I go to New York, because that's a dream, another dream of mine at 11 years old, because the song came out in 1977. So I was 11 years old, and New York, New York. Man, I couldn't wait to get to New York when I grew up. That's what I would always say. When I grow up, I'm going to New York. Fast forward 6 months, I'm living in D.C. Now I have friends, and I thought, D.C. to New York is only 3 hours on the Amtrak train. That's a great weekend trip. I asked my friends, I said, hey, let's plan a trip to New York. They said, sure, we're down. You plan it. No problem. I can plan it. It's my dream trip anyway. The first step in planning a trip is what? Secure a date. Got a date, put the date out there to the group. I figured we could leave Friday morning and return Sunday afternoon, Sunday in the evening. And I put the date out there. One friend, no, I got work responsibilities, I can't go that day. Another friend, I'm not sure yet. The other friend, well, let me know what date y'all decide on. I was like, what? And I thought, well, maybe it's just that day. Try another date. Okay. I put the other date out there. Same old sad, sorry song. I said, you know what? I don't have time for this. If I want to go to New York, this is my trip. This is my dream. I'm not going to coordinate and wait on other people to do something that I want to do. It would be nice if we all could do it together, but I'm going to New York. Am I afraid? I've never been to New York before. I hear it's a big, huge city. I don't know. I have a cousin there. My cousin is there. So what I'll do is let him know I'm coming, but let me plan this trip. I'm planning this trip not around my cousin, planning this trip around me. And back then in 1992, we didn't have Google Maps and internet, and in terms of researching and looking up the hotels and having that information easily available to us. What I had to do was call the hotel, call the Department of Tourism, New York Department of Tourism, and ask them to send me guides, hotel guides. Back then, the hotel didn't have elaborate pictures and hotel reviews for you to see. If they did, we didn't know how to use it at that point. I got the book in the mail, looked through the book. If you remember the book, it had a description, little tiny picture of the hotel and what it included. I had no clue. I just knew the vicinity I wanted to stay in. The price was right. And I said, hey, I'm going with this hotel. And I called my cousin to let him know that I would be in town the weekend, and he said, call me on Saturday and we can get together when you come into town. Sure, that sounds great. Had my itinerary, the things I wanted to see and do in New York. Got my train ticket. I lived up the street from Union Station, and first time on Amtrak, headed to New York. Wow, I was so excited, and I was by myself, and it just was exciting. Got on the train, 3-hour ride, that was perfect. And back then, I didn't have a cell phone. We didn't have mobile phones or cell phones. When I arrived to Penn Station, I was like, whoa, this is New York. Look at all these people. Look at the underground. It was amazing to me. I thought, wow, I'm in New York. I'm in New York. I walk out of Penn Station, and you have Madison Square Garden right there. And I look, and there's Madison Square Garden. Oh my goodness. And my parents were Knicks fans, and I was all about basketball growing up. And I thought, wow, remember, no cell phone, no Google Maps. How I got around was using the tourism map that I had gotten from the tourism office that they sent me, and just reading the street signs, directions based on the map. So I said, let me drop off my bag, and then I can go and tour the sites. I dropped off my bag. I looked at the map, found my hotel. When I walked up to the hotel, I was like, what is this? It looked like a rooming house. I was like, it wasn't the hotel across the street from Hotel Pennsylvania. It wasn't that across from the train station. And it was conveniently located I walked to the Empire State Building, but it was like a rooming house. And I'm like, okay. I checked in. The person was fine, and this is not 4 stars, but I got the room, opened the room, and it's like a little box. It had a bed, had a bathroom. It was clean, had a window, and that was about it. That was about it. And I looked at the characters around, and I was like, okay, they don't look too bad, but I wasn't looking to stay in a rooming house. But it works. It works. Left my bags, went out to do my to do my sightseeing. And my plan was to take the big bus, to take the Big Apple bus, and I could tour around the city and catch my bearings and figure out where everything was. Did I say? Oh, remember, I didn't have mobile phone. I didn't have a mobile phone. I called my aunt because she was at home, and I had to make a collect call. That's how the times were back then. I had to make a collect call to say that I made it. So she accepted my collect call, and I told her that I was in New York. I made it, and I was going to see my cousin tomorrow. And she said, be careful, have a good time. That was it. After I hung up from her, I went to the Empire State Building, and I went to the Empire State Building and got the picture with the Empire State. If I can find that picture, I'll connect it. But I still have it. But going through my pictures, whew, I had my little picture at the Empire State Building. I think I had on a polka dot shirt. At any rate, it was cute. And after I did the Empire State Building, I said, I'll take the big bus, but let me stop at Duane Reade drugstore. I was in the drugstore, coming out the drug, and I thought that was a weird name. I'm like, that's a person name for a drugstore, Duane Reade. Anyway, coming out the drugstore, let me tell you this. This man just ran by me fast. He was booking. He ran, whoosh. And then this other man came right behind him yelling, better teach you the next time to mess with my MF wife. But he said the curse words. And I'm like, what? And I was like, Mama, I made it. New York, this is New York, this is New York. Mama, I made it. This is New York City. This is what I expected in terms of the excitement, in terms of anything goes, concrete jungle. I was here for it. And I was like, okay. And I got on my Big Apple bus, sat at the top, and toured the city. And once I finished that, I had, another thing on my list to do, my sights to see, was Sbarro's. I had to eat at Sbarro's, the Fat Boys. All you can eat. Ooh, they made that popular, so I had to stop by Sbarro's and get me some pizza. I had my first Sbarro's in New York City. You talk about exciting. I was kicking it, having a good time. I was good and happy. And I did the sightseeing on the Big Apple bus, which let me off at the various sites, and I could get back and get on the bus. And I was able to see all that I needed to see, all that I wanted to see, and more. And that evening, I called my cousin and told him that I was here, and he said we scheduled to get together at 10 o'clock in the morning the next day. So that was good. I had a great night. Awesome first night. I go back to my hotel, and it looks fine to me. It's a rooming house, but it looks fine. And that morning, my cousin met me at the hotel. And the first thing he said came down after this hug. He said, "Where'd you find this hotel?" And I said, I just looked in the book and got the hotel. He said, "This hotel is like, it may be a little better now, but this hotel is where the pimps and the hookers and I was like, what? Oh my God, why'd you tell me that? Why'd you tell me that? Needless to say, I didn't sleep comfortable at all that last night. I had one eye open, and my door didn't, underneath, you could see the light because the door didn't hit, what do you call it? The door didn't go all the way down to the ground. And you could see the light. The door wasn't fully grounded. You could see the the light, or if people walked by. But actually, no one walked by. I didn't hear much noise. The stairs did creak, but no one bothered me. And it just wasn't a good night's sleep. But I was safe. Nothing happened. We went to the movies. I went to his home in Queens, and that was the first time I learned about the Gypsy Cab Drivers, because we took one to his house, and I said, "What is this? What's going on here?" He said, "We pay, neighborhood people trying to make a dollar. We pay them, and they take us up the street or wherever we going, and you hop in with the whole neighborhood, and you just go where you're going, give him $1, $2, and you go on about your business, get where you need to be." That was my first time experiencing that in 1992. Hey, I'm down with it. And we had a good time. Sat there, talked with him, and just hung out in Queens. And when it was time to return, he had a friend who was coming to the city, and he took me to the city. He actually had a cab service. So on the way back by myself, I was in a cab with someone he trusted. And he took me back to my hotel. I got something to eat, and because there were places to eat around my hotel, got something to eat. And that was my night. That was my second day and night in New York City. I went to a movie theater with my cousin to see how it was, and that's when I learned how expensive New York City. That movie back then in 1992 for two people was about $25. And he said, that's why we don't go to the movies here. We got videos. We use videos and watch videos and eat popcorn and everything at home. That was an expensive outing. And that is when Times Square had all the peep shows. Giuliani hadn't cleaned it up yet. That's when I saw all the peep shows, right? We had to be in Times Square, around that area, because I know New York now. And all the peep shows. I was like, ooh. But I was used to that in D.C., but this was New York. It was on a larger scale, so it was like, look at this, I'm in the mix. And anyway, we had a great time. And on that Sunday, I woke up, got breakfast, checked out my hotel. I was so glad when that morning came. He should have never told me that. But I was glad when that morning came and checked out. People were cool and had my bag. Here we go to the train station. I ate breakfast and then I caught my train and back to DC. And while I was riding the train, I was so proud of myself. This is something that I wanted to do. I didn't wait on other people to do it because, hey, if I were waiting on them, I may have never gone. And that taught me a valuable lesson. Never wait on other people to do what you want to do. And solo travel, hey, I'm down with it because I didn't have the patience to deal with that. And you don't have to. You can go out here and explore and be adventurous on your own. Be safe. Check out your hotels. But it worked out. And that was a valuable lesson I learned. When I returned home, I got together with my girlfriends and they said, "What did you do over the weekend?" I said, "I went to New York." "You went to New York by yourself?" "Yes, I went by myself." I said, "Because y'all couldn't do it. Y'all had this, you had that. No one could sync schedules to go. And I couldn't wait on you all. I would be waiting forever." And they were like, That's nice. Good. Yes, I did it myself. And I was proud of myself because I had a good time. And, well, I was getting ready to say, I've always been a person to appreciate my own solitude. And that is part of the way I grew up in terms of being comfortable being by myself. I'm just comfortable by myself. I enjoy other people as well, but I am comfortable being by myself. The stretch for me was going to a big city like New York and maneuvering the streets and directions without having any concept of how it's designed, the people in terms of what to expect and how it's all set up. That was the biggest challenge for me. And to know that I stepped out on the streets, the concrete jungle, and did my thing in terms of having the confidence to figure things out, even when I wasn't sure, figuring out directions, learning to read their signs and how their streets, north, south, east, west, all of that was a part of that process of becoming more and more comfortable with being in a different place, a foreign place by myself. And it was an awesome experience. And I can tell you that it really changed my perspective on people and places and what I have within me and can do solo. New York was the first place I went to where the people looked like me, but then when they started talking, they spoke a totally different language. I wasn't used to that in DC. Even though DC is an international city, I hadn't experienced that yet. Later on, I would, but I hadn't experienced that in 1992 where someone looks like me and then they talk to me in English and turn around and start talking, this person was Dominican, and they start talking their language. And I'm thinking, wow, and that was all over New York City. And I was fascinated by that. It was just a whole new experience and gave me an outlook and appreciation on traveling and exposure and adapting and learning new things. Here's what I learned from my first solo trip to New York. I learned how to adapt. I learned to be more in tune with my gut, my instinct, and my intuition. My observation skills became more keen, where when I'm with other people, I don't pick up on certain things and I don't even concentrate or notice things. I rely on other people. This solo trip back in 1992 taught me the importance of observation and instinct in terms of direction and paying attention to details. But I have to be flexible because certain situations turn out I have no control over, and I have to be patient. Where I was staying in the rooming house, hooker, prostitute, pimp house, I had to adapt and adjust and be creative, because what I ended up doing was putting something down under the door so no one could look under it. I ended up putting some paper or something I had down, those books that I had, I ended up putting them down on the ground, and I figured if they move, I would know if anybody was turning the doorknob or coming to the door. That's creative thinking, hey, those are life skills, mandatory life skills. I learned to deal with the unknown. You just don't know, and you have to be ready for it, and that experience taught me to be ready. Even when I'm not ready, I'm ready. And the trip taught me the celebration of freedom. This was another goal of mine. I achieved it. I did it on my own, and I felt like I had climbed to the mountaintop. I was free. I enjoyed the experience. And those are all the lessons I've learned on my first solo trip to New York. And I made it. Question of the day: what lessons have you learned from traveling solo? It could be in town, out of town, or just doing things by yourself. What lessons have you learned? Leave a comment below and let's talk about it. Follow me on Instagram as Success with Etiquette for my day-to-day happenings. Be sure to watch part 1, Live Life Without Regrets, linked above. Subscribe, like, thumbs up, and share this video. Until next time, peace. Running pretty New York City girl. 25, 35, hello baby, New York City girl. You grew up riding the subway, running with people. Up in Harlem, down on Broadway. You're no tramp, but you're no lady. Talking that sweet talk. You're the heart and soul of New York City. Yeah.